Alrighty, righty, and here we are live. I'm your host, Myki Angeline, for the Bad Filipino podcast. This is episode 15, and I'm in crazy because this is 15 of my own episodes in just a month, and I'm here. I'm really, really looking forward to this conversation with you, Quynh. This is my good friend, Quynh For The Win, and I met you through the femWINism group. And this has been a long time coming for me to have somebody on here to talk about self-love, self-healing, setting boundaries, and you're kind of the queen of that.
Thank you so much. I am, yeah, thank you. I had so much fun watching your intro. I was like, oh yeah. So that was so cool. I just had to say that was so cool.
Thank you. So for those who are watching,
yeah.
So for those who are watching but do not really know who you are as of yet, give a little intro on who you are and what it is you do currently when it comes to self-love coaching.
Well, yeah, I go by Quynh For The Win. I identify myself as a self-love coach. And what that means is I support any individual that is struggling to get there. You know, a lot of us have emotions, a lot of us have pains, and I'm there to be a safe space for any individual to express themselves so that we can navigate those emotions to a healthier place, a healthier process, and ultimately becoming their own best friend. So that's like my thing. When I made that commitment to myself, I said, I need to be my own best friend. Since I haven't looked back, and from being my own best friend and finding out what self-love actually is, people started identifying me as a coach. So, and through committing to certain programs that pushed and deepened my emotional growth, my self-love growth even more. Yeah, long story short, I got the support that I needed to start my coaching practice. So here I am.
And it sounds like your peers and those who support you saw that in you and gave that gentle nudge to go, you realize you're just coaching us and you just haven't put the title on it yet, right?
Exactly.
That's the best way, really. When you have those in your circle, in your squad, who will see that in you and will push you, which femWINism does, and you're a big part of that. You know, you foster that and you go, you know, this is who you are. Do you realize that yet? Let's work on that.
Exactly. Which, you know, whatever, like you'll find yourself doing what you enjoy. Perhaps that's what you're meant to do and make a career out of it. I know that sounds so cliche, but yeah, I mean, that's a whole another discussion, but for sure. Like I started being this certain way with people and they just assumed that I was a coach already. I'm like, you know, yeah, this is the direction I need to be headed to, because it's just
and then
I'm
and when did you make
that
change?
You know?
When did you make that change from knowing and then making it a profession? How long have you been doing it now?
Oh my gosh, 2 years. So 2018,
nice.
in the middle of that year, I was finishing up an emotional intelligence academy, and it was the most intense type of experience I've ever had in San Diego. Shout out to ALA. Yeah, there was a certain exercise that I had to reach out to somebody that was doing something very similar to what I could see myself doing, like with the live videos and going into coaching. And long story short, I ended up hiring her as my coach, and she, so there was no turning back there. She's like, all right, it's time. You're reaching out to me, Quynh, it is time. What are you doing? Let's go. I'm like, you're right. Let's go. So I invested in a coach to keep me accountable and like give me all the tools that I need to start my coaching business. Yeah.
Wow. And that was a little scary though, wasn't it?
Or yes, maybe it was a scary and exciting. Scary and exciting. So for anyone out there who knows that they need support, I feel you. It's scary because you're going to have somebody holding you accountable. So just to put that out there, I advise every single person to date. You know how there's always a free consultation? Take those. And you're interviewing the coach, okay? Please make sure that you feel safe with them. I have a client right now who she went on she was like dating. She was saying yes to all these free consultations from these coaches that she was coming by. And she's like, Quynh, you are the one. We are the perfect match. So it was like, we are the one for each other. And but yeah, I just wanted to slide that in real quick. Yeah, just with coaching and stepping into it. And then on the other end, looking for a coach to support you. Treat it like dating, please. Yeah.
That's interesting that you say that. What do you mean by treat it like dating?
Yes, because when you date, you're getting to know people, right? And you're very intentional about, okay, like, is this person healthy for me? Like, how do you know if that person is the one? This might be a good segue to go into boundaries because, and I like to call it filters as well. And there's so many other ways to call it healthy boundaries, but it's to really protect yourself from getting hurt. So that's what I mean by dating. You're not like once when you meet somebody, you're not all in already just because maybe, you like how they look and like, I don't know, right? Like these very surfacey reasons. Let's go deeper. Let's really like be intentional and see which indicators to look out for to know that, okay, this is the one, or this is the one I'm question mark. There's something here that I'm not feeling. So it's just so important when you have a coach that you really feel their safe vibes. And what I mean by that, where you don't feel any judgment, you don't feel criticized, you don't feel this, because every person is so different, right? And even with that said, my personality might put them off a little bit for some reason, and that's okay. So that's why I say dating. Does that make sense? That's why I say dating.
It's perfect sense.
In fact, so many things.
And it's to let people know that you do want to take the time and check out different, because there's so much out there. That would be whether it's a self-love coach, whether it's a therapist, whether it's an entrepreneur, mentor, you do your research and have your key questions, listen, and especially women, follow your intuition. If the hairs go up on the back of your neck, if you have this weird queasy, if there's anything that is not comfortable in the way that you feel when you're hearing that person, that's a sign. You don't want to just fall for the flashy promotional tools they use or the fancy little quotes they keep sharing of others. Like, just give it time, figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because once you meet someone face to face, you'll get more of a deeper sense of who they are versus, like, I love what you said, the flashy, how they've been promoting themselves. Yeah.
We all do it. I mean, I'm working steadily on my marketing, but research that person, research that brand, especially the person behind the brand, because if the brand is brand new, the person isn't. Mm-hmm. And 9 times out of 10, things are going to surface about them, and these are things you're going to want to know, right? That's why when you Google my name, a lot of gray stuff comes up, and I've worked hard to make that happen. It is what it is, right? Too many times you'd be surprised. Too many times people come across your stuff and you don't realize they've been checking you out before they've approached you. Smart people will.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to say, like, when you're dating, perhaps you can follow them for a while, maybe even like say yes to one of their offerings or something and see, right? So that's part of dating too. It's like, okay, let me check them out a little bit. And then until you're like, okay, you know what? I'm ready to go to the next level and talk to them one-on-one.
And we're going to now segue from from coaches to people on that. And by the way, Sarita jumped in and she said to me, love your scarf. Thank you. You know what?
Yes,
I am just celebrating the fact that here in Northern California, it got under 70 degrees. I was so happy. And I thought, I'm going to wear a scarf and a long sleeve today. Even though I've got the AC blasting, so I don't.
Yeah, I wore like the sweater for the first time.
I know. We're just, it's been crazy, especially with, the fires happening a lot. And so I thought, oh my gosh. So yeah, it's October. Why not? So now that we're going to segue, because we are going to cover on this, we're going to talk about setting healthy boundaries. We're going to talk about, identifying toxic relationships. We're going to talk about loving yourself before and not confusing it with loving others to love yourself. And then fourth, I want to also touch on identifying if you're the one who's the toxic one, or if you have these toxic traits and you're not aware, because maybe this is how you've been navigating for a very long time, recognizing it and then knowing that you want to heal that and get rid of that, because toxic attracts toxic. So insecurity attracts insecurity. Codependency attracts codependency. Right? Yeah. So we're going to start off with the whole Because I think this is funny when you said about dating and people research. There's this fine line between researching and stalking.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? Because it is important to check people out. A lot of people are on
Yes.
social media, and you can, by pulling up if their accounts aren't private, or not private enough. Sometimes if it's private, that's hard. Because I guess I'm 52
Yeah.
and back in the day, we just talked to people and had people vetted through other people. I don't
Yes.
even know how much of that still exists anymore.
Maybe it's still around. Like when you say vet, you're talking about like people referring or
Correct.
like vouching.
Like let's say
yes,
there's somebody I'm interested in and you are mutual friends with, and I'll say, hey, Quynh, there's this woman I'm like vibing with. Could I ask you some, and it doesn't have to be like personal, but would you recommend that I give that a try? Because what you as Quynh are going to do, especially as a self-love coach, you're going to either number one, think, you know me enough to know, am I a fit for the friend? And then you're going to know enough to know, is that friend a fit for Myki? Enough to go, you know what? I see that happening. You know what? You guys have enough in common. You both aren't crazy psycho whacks. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and hit her up? I say, yeah, that's vetting.
Yes, I will say it still happens because it's literally happening amongst my clients. Like I'm seeing them vet for me and they're just trying to match me up with people that they're like, you got to try out Quynh or you got to check Quynh out. And they're just inviting people to the self-love community Facebook group that I have right now. It's free, it's private. So there's like that when people are able to vet for you, that means like they are really experiencing the value from being connected with you.
Yes,
yeah.
I think that's so important. That's something I still do to this day. That's part of why I've been able to build myself in the career and the community that I've done is through the community. It's there's nothing better than having people go to bat for you, right? Recommendations for you, like on the LinkedIn, I hit up, and that's the hardest part too. I think that's part of the self-love when you can appreciate your own worth, right? It's about recognizing your self-value enough that it isn't an ego thing to reach out and say, hey, I could use these recommendations on my LinkedIn. Would you write some for me? Those matter.
1000%.
Don't be afraid to ask for that.
Do
right?
matter. Yes. Yes. Because just with that, before we get into it, I'm just hearing self-worth. When you say that, I'm just saying self-worth. And so when you really value you become very open to support because you see your value. And it's like saying, I am worth it for support. I'm worthy of support. There you go. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Very worthy.
Yeah.
So then, and we're probably going to bounce off and around as we flow with this. We're totally flowing. Would you have advice on how would a person recognize the difference between somebody triggering their own trauma versus recognizing that someone else is just triggering in general, right? So recognizing if the person you're interested in is the toxic person, or are you just not done self-healing your own triggers that you get triggered from your past traumas no matter what somebody does? That's a fine line, isn't it?
So, I'm leaning more towards the second point that you're making because anytime when we feel triggered, like where is that emotion coming from? Where have you experienced the very same emotion in the past? There's something that me and my life partner have been talking about. We've been giving like visuals because we're doing group coaching where, the pains that we have in here that haven't been loved on, that haven't been healed, that haven't been like understood, that haven't been seen, heard, and understood, basically. It gets so much where it turns into fire. And so depending on how much fire we have, when we're around somebody that is fire as well, it's going to ignite your fire. And depending how much we have experienced self-love, knowing how to create water within ourselves, hopefully this is easy for you guys to see and kind of follow, you may be able to put out that fire that you're experiencing from the other person. And also that you're seeing the fire within yourself. Hopefully that answered the question. But
that's
good.
Triggers
so then, as fire. Yeah.
Right. Well, then, all right. Could you give an example of how to create that water? How to manifest that water?
Water, where are you? Because, woo! one.
Because I could use that
it could look
advice.
like anger. Yeah, it could look like anger. It could look bitterness. It could look like, you know, you firing back at the fire. So I'll use an example. I love my mom, and I love using my mom because we can all relate to this, at least with some family member, right? Family is always very tricky. So growing up, I've had so many fights with my mom, a lot of fires being thrown at each other. My mom constantly telling me what to do. And anytime when I share something with her, she always has something to say to criticize it. I'm sure y'all can resonate with that. And so what creating water looks like is, number one, being aware that there's fire inside of you that's being ignited from this other person triggering you, let's just say, right? So when you notice that the fire is being stoked and it's like alive, where are you going to go and release that? Where are you going to go? So instead of like firing back at that person, knowing that, where can I go that's safe, where I can release? Because there's tools that you can release. So this goes into the self-love practice. For myself, I'm either going to be journaling, I'm going to be voice recording, or I'm going to be going on video and vomiting it out loud.
Emotional
or I'm
vomit,
going to be
yes.
working out to sweat out that fire. Because when you do this, you're opening up space. When you release, you're opening up space to process. You're opening yourself up to reflect. You're opening up yourself to understand. And with that, you're going to find your answers. You're going to find, okay, perhaps I shouldn't take it personal. Ooh, perhaps this is not me. It's my mom. She's been going through a lot. I can see why she projects it onto me. So all those realizations, it is in your self-love practice because it's open up space. So that is the water, because you can then see the kind thoughts, you can see the compassion, right? Because I like to say water is like peace, like water is understanding, water
Tranquil.
is love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is my process when I am aware that I am triggered and that there's a fire being kind of poked at. I know that I need to go to my safe space to release.
There it is. You hit
You're
two
going to
really
find me
important
expressing
points.
in some sort of way or working. Yeah.
You hit two really important
Yes.
points. The number one of figuring out the healthy way of dumping that.
Yes.
And not taking things personal. And so let's touch on those two things, because that's been my journey for the longest time. In fact, I finally reached a point when I understood what the phrase "don't take it personal," and that's such a dry way to just tell someone, "Don't take it personal." Like, now I'm going to take it personal.
Yes. There's a process.
There's a process.
You can't just switch it on, okay?
Right. But also recognize, I think it's important to attach to the when you find a way to healthy go through that going through that is also the process. It's like when a virus runs its course through your body. Don't stop the flow. Just find a healthier way to let the flow go. And for you, it's journaling or it's working out. For me, it's working out. For me, it's either working out or singing or playing sports. So
Beautiful.
That's why I missed the whole karaoke thing, because I had posted a photo on a Throwback Thursday yesterday that a friend threw up. I was like, oh, because we had met 4 years ago yesterday, and it was at Sidetracks, which is a queer karaoke bar in downtown Sacramento. Yes. And so she, of course, hadn't met me yet, though, but she was, I guess, just enjoyed my performance. She actually took video, oh my God, and then had photos. And so I was like, oh, but that was my happy place. Like, because people who know me deep know that I'm very straight-laced. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Like, I don't do smoke pot, cigarettes, don't drink alcohol, don't take the strongest drug I've ever taken is ibuprofen. Like, I'm a very pure source, which now explains why I'm so intense, because I'm just raw. I'm just raw energy in pure form all the time. Yeah. And so karaoke was a healthy, awesome, fun way for me to just enjoy, bring out those good feel vibes, be with my friends. And so, but it took a while for me to learn to not take things personal. And what I learned that meant was, just because either you're firing off doesn't necessarily mean it had to do with me. It had to do with whatever you brought into the conversation before you and I even got together. whatever happened to you in the last
Exactly.
week, in the last month, in the last hour, you might still be carrying, right? I might still be carrying that energy. And now I've
Yeah.
just sort of overflowed it into the new conversation, which is between you and I. That's how
Mm,
you can tell. And when you can understand that, when I finally reached that, Quynh, it was so an aha moment for me. And all of a sudden
yes.
I felt no pressure and I felt no guilt and I felt no pain because I realized it wasn't mine. And I took
Yes.
everything personal, not that I thought everything was about me in an egotistical way. It was more of I felt like I had to control how people reacted to me no matter what. As though I kept trying to find, because I'm a people pleaser. I'm a people pleaser at heart, and I genuinely love to connect. And if at any time you or I had a situation where I thought I was making you feel bad, or you were making me feel bad, and I thought it was my fault that you were making, you know what I'm saying? Like it was that
Yes.
vicious circle.
Yes.
When I finally hit that,
Oof.
man, like tears, I could breathe. It was just, oh, I get it.
Yes. Mm. You release yourself from taking it like yours, like it's directly to you and it's for
Yeah,
you. I like how you said that. Like,
yeah,
oh, it's not mine. It's not mine. Right?
right.
Beautiful. Beautiful
So,
process.
so then let's go. Do you want to touch, you want to keep talking about the self-healing? Do you want to go into, because
Let's go into how
how do
to
you recognize when
protect.
you need that?
Need what specifically?
The
The
self-healing. How do you recognize?
Oh, when you're in pain. So I'll break it down in the many ways that you can identify um, how you're in pain. There's emotional pain. There's mental pain. Example of that is like being overwhelmed, right? Too much over here. Um, Spiritually in pain, where you feel like you cannot be yourself. Physical pain, woo, this is a big one. I mean, for me, neck pains, all the like, I pains, aches, I feel my lower back, and financial pain. So to make it simple for us, you can look at your hand and say, okay, where am I hurting right now? And that's when you apply that process that I shared earlier, where you notice that you're in pain, the awareness, knowing that you need to get to a safe space because you're going to need to express slash heal, attend to that pain area with one or two of those self-love slash practices. And when you do that, you will experience the result. You will experience the space, you experience the release, you experience the healing, the love, the water that you're creating for yourself. And then you can go on with your day. Yeah,
That
you can go on
flow.
with your day. That
That was
flow.
great advice. I love that the three markers to recognize, because half of the journey is recognizing where to start. So,
Yeah.
and then I didn't mean to interrupt you. You wanted to
Self-awareness.
go into setting. You started to say setting something, right?
Setting. Was it like the safe space? Well, which part? Which
There.
part?
Yes. Safe space. That
Okay.
was the word you tried to say.
Yes.
Let's go into that part.
Because I keep on thinking about the triggered part, or okay, let's just call it pain, right? When you notice you're in a lot of pain, you are very sensitive and tender hearted right now. So you need to go somewhere where you can express it out with no one around you criticizing you, telling you to shut up, telling you to stop crying. We can just really be the rawest you, because that emotion, that pain needs to go somewhere. And I know that with being in toxic relationships, being in codependent relationships, I depended on my partner to hold that space for me to express. And turns out he wasn't, or they weren't a safe space because they told me to stop crying. And I didn't feel heard, I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel understood. So that caused even more pain. I'm sure all of us have been in that situation. So that's why I say we need to go to our safe space, whether it's by yourself or to a safe friend, to express. And I just want to really, really advocate, if you could step into that uncomfortableness of being alone and going to your journal, going to yourself, going to that video, or going to that workout, going to the yoga mat, going to the meditation. Oh, you're going to feel so empowered, because that's how I call it, where you're like, wow, I'm being my own best friend right now. I'm feeling seen, heard, and understood by myself. Wow, I feel empowered.
That's a Beyonce song, isn't it? Me, myself, and
Self
I.
and I. Oh, you're the second person who brought that up.
My own best
Mm,
friend.
friend, yes, Inertia.
Yes,
I was on
inertia.
her talk and I said something. She was like, she
Did
started
she?
singing the Beyonce song. I was like, so
Yep.
you're the second person to pick that up. So
Well, I did talk about
feminism
singing too.
vibes.
Hi, hi. And speaking of which,
Hey.
because why don't you for a little bit talk about why you know so much from personal experience? Because you did come through. God, did I just Peter Brady hit that weird vocal in my voice? So you did in your past, in a very painful, toxic relationship that you had to get out of, right? I mean, without like stretching it out, but you experienced it yourself, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, it's hard to see, me being a self love coach right now and talking about all these healthy ways of processing your pain and like self love tools, self love practice. It's hard to imagine me in a spot. And if I could just give a quick cliff note, young age, being bullied, being the oldest sister that was loving and that was caring to the biggest bully to her sisters, and then people pleasing right away because the way that I was disciplined at home and the way that I was bullied, there was no self-love practice there. And so pain projection happened on my siblings, and then people pleasing right away, right? Because like, okay, I'm hurt now. Where's the love? Let me go find the love. And long story short, 2 long-term relationships. The first one was for 5 years. Second one was basically 5 years. I say 4 or 5 years because there was that gray area where you still go back to them after when you've
Mm-hmm.
broken it off.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Um, yeah, the term that I always say, I remember the day that I broke up with my last ex, and I said I literally feel soulless, like my soul is dying, my soul is dead. That's how I felt, and I'm sure you guys felt some sort of type of way like that in
Yeah.
order for you to leave. And so that's how I describe how I felt. It was just disappointment after disappointment, not feeling loved, not feeling seen, not feeling appreciated. And yeah, you drive yourself to the ground when you're just dependent, craving that type of love that you feel like you got in the beginning from somebody. And then when it's no longer there, you're just like starving for it. And we'll wait until we feel like we're hitting that bottom. So that was me in fall of 2014. Spent a whole another year still going back to my ex because I was not, the attachment was so strong, especially when you lack of self-love,
Would you
lack of
say it was like a
self-worth.
would you say it was like a Stockholm syndrome for you with that person?
Can you describe Stockholm?
Stockholm
What
syndrome.
does that mean? What
The
is
stock
Stockholm Syndrome?
when you find yourself drawn to the person who hurts you the most and you can't break
Oh,
from it.
yeah. Yep.
It's a pattern, and it's a
8,000%.
familiar, because even if it's bad attention, it's still attention, and you're hurting so
Mhm.
much inside,
Yes.
and you lack enough self-love, lack enough self-value that I've done it where you justify why you keep a person in your life. And I'm pretty sure I was and let's be real, everyone watching, I'm pretty sure I was the cause of that for some people. We have to recognize in ourselves when we're the ones allowing the toxicity and when we're the ones causing the toxicity.
Totally.
It really
Same with
is.
me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I
and then
kept on saying
also
it was
too,
them. Yeah.
yeah. And then also too, like I said, because I bring my age up because it's all about generation and how we view and put in place of importance relationships. Me growing up, born in the 60s, growing up in the 70s, how relationships and what they meant are so different now for anyone who's in
Mhm.
their 20s and their 30s. And people are living longer and wanting more and,
Mm.
having autonomy and equality versus, I mean, we're going to go too far because we can't have this go on forever, but, and not even just separating from the old school religious cis male female relationships to where you have trans, non-binary, queer, you have same sex, you have, all these different variables. And when that happens, Now, what is the purpose of love and finding a relationship? And understanding that, you know what, you don't necessarily are going to end up with somebody, and that's not bad. To try to put, so, because families, especially, us coming from brown upbringing, Filipino for sure, you're always put on you as a female that you need to get married and have kids. I don't know about now, but when I was growing up.
Yes.
And so, which was honestly for my whenever I share my coming out story, because did we already miss National Coming Out Day? Was that the 8th? So was that yesterday or was that, no, it's coming up. I think I'm trying to remember when National Coming Out Day is. I think it's Sunday. But I came out late. I was 29 and I was with my husband and we were together 11 years and we had a kid together. Like I birthed her. Like people wonder, oh, I birthed her. I didn't order her on a like a catalog. She's my kid. But I did a lot of self-realization studying, right? I come to the conclusion that a lot of the reason it took me so long was because I had family pressuring me to, they would say things like, if you keep riding BMX bikes like that, you're never going to get a husband. If you keep playing sports like that, you're never going to. So to me, I was like trying to prove that I could get a husband when the whole time I wanted to be the husband, but there was nothing I was raised with. And that comes with the self-love when you lack of that, when you're raised to be a certain part to carry on a family name or whatnot. I don't know how relevant that is today for people and finding love after you figured out self-value and self-love. I know I went on a crazy train on that one.
Yeah.
But I feel like
no,
it's a
full
really
circle. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, because you're a lot younger than I am. Is it different? Was it different for you growing up on how it was put to you being in a relationship to how you feel about it today?
Yeah. Growing up, I cannot recall the pressure of finding a husband and getting married, but I had taken that on myself because of what I saw. So I saw my parents being able to raise a family, being able to get jobs. They both went to college, got their AA. They made it work financially and then like took on all these trips. So like I saw that as a model. And of course the movies that we grow up and see, Disney movies especially.
Are you talking the princess movies?
We'll say that again.
Are you talking about the princess movies or just in general with Disney? Okay.
Disney, the early Disney movies with the princess, Finding the Prince, like those. Yeah, growing up with those. That influenced me as my truth of, hashtag goals or whatever, where I was going to see my life. So that's what I grew up with. And then I have to say, my two siblings are queer. And so when they came out, I feel like that did something to my parents where they were being challenged to accept their children, and I'm speaking from my own experience observing this happen.
Yeah.
And since then, as we've gotten older, I've been seeing them being more accepting bit by bit. So I'm just going to throw this in here real quick. But when I got my hysterectomy 2 years ago, my mom was very not, because I checked in with her, like, how do you feel about me not having kids? I mean, yes, if I ever do want kids, I can adopt, but I am not going to be ever being able to birth one. And, how do you feel about it? Are you okay? And she's like, you're alive. That's the most important thing to me. So I feel like my parents have been way more bendy with what they believe their kids should live by. They'll throw comments here and there, but I've seen them be more accepting as they are watching us grow and seeing what we've been consistently have become in our lives. So
that's really good because, and that is one of many factors that falls into how we see ourselves, and everybody needs to be aware of that. Take that time to really research on your upbringing. And I'm not saying to look to point blame. No, you're studying. For me,
yes.
I mean, for me, I was raised in a broken, my parents divorced when I was 2. So I was raised between my dad's side, which is the Filipino side, and then my mom's side, which is the Caucasian, the white side. But my mother was always, bless her heart, she was always the one who I could talk to and had the answers and was very, very patient with me. Libra, bless her heart, because I was a lot to deal with. But it was still her upbringing, and she was very honest with it. I remember going live with it back in 2000. I want to say 17, with her, and she had been, because she drinks, and she had been drinking, and she admitted she could never really fully accept me as being gay. And it wasn't like a hurtful thing towards me. It was her just being honest with me about her. And I thought that was the weirdest thing, because she always loved Boy George and stuff when I was growing up, like in the 80s, right? That was when I was in high school. And I thought, how can you love Boy George being gay, but not me? And it came from wanting more for me that she was hoping I would be able to achieve that she couldn't, as a female, as a woman, having children. I wanted to have children. So, I have my daughter. She didn't press that on me, and now here we go, it's about breaking cycles. So my own kid, she came out as a sexual lesbian about 10 years ago. She's going to be 25 this month. And even to this day, she'll say to me, will it upset you if I don't have kids? I said, no, because it's not up to me. That's your body. That's your life. I will be happy. And I always have to reiterate. I said, I'll be happy how you adopt, you have a bunch. It's whatever you want. This is your life. I didn't give birth to you just to relive my mistakes and make it better, which I think a lot of parents do. So, and it's me recognizing whenever she asks me these questions, I will go back and think, well, what was it like for me growing up? And who would have been that person? I want to be the person who I needed when I was growing up for my daughter. I think that's the best thing as any parent can do, because the flux is happening so much. I really commend your parents for that, because being Asian, that's huge in our culture, having families. Yes. And to have a hysterectomy at a young age like you are, and in your reasons are your reasons, it's your body, which that's a whole nother topic. For your mom to be able to embrace that it's more important what you want and that you're alive versus what she wants for you is huge.
It is huge. And I love what you brought up about, like, a lot of times parents are projecting what they wish they had onto you. So they get attached on what you need to experience, what they wish for you to experience, And oftentimes you will see that your parents are not practicing what they want you to be doing.
Never. Do as I say, not as I do.
That's all the parents out there.
And that all ties into the self-love, because that's why it took me so long to, even to this day, I've had conversations about what makes me happy. To be honest, I'm still looking for that self, because right now I feel like my purpose in life is helping others. That's what makes me happy. Like, it's weird for me to try to do something that only I benefit from. And I recognize it as part of it from the upbringing and the codependency I came from abuse that I grew up with, from neglect that I grew up with, but also because as an empath, which I recognized years back, I'm an empath. I feel the weight of the world, and I know it's more than just about me. So I tackle myself. What will I allow myself to only enjoy when it is me, the only one benefiting from it? It's a weird spot for me personally. Right?
I feel you.
We talked about this
I feel you
off air when I talked about the difference where I've been going with my posts on Facebook. I used to post all these happy-go-lucky and and it's like now I'm just feeling such the weight of the world between, injustice with the Black community, with the election coming up, women's rights. I feel all of that is more important for me to focus and work on right now than sharing a happy puppy video. That's just where I'm at. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just recognizing it's kind of where I'm at. And I'm still figuring it out. I don't know if I'm going to get a break to finally love on myself till after the election. We've got 25 days. Like, honestly, that's just kind of where it's at for me, because I feel there's a tinge of guilt. Now, little things like enjoying my favorite ice cream all day long. But to me, that's little. It's a different kind of self-love.
Yes. Can I break that down real quick?
Please
I break it down for you? And I'll just put it into separate categories. So,
real quick. Joshua says hello from Poway, and he says that we're amazing. Oh, we love you, Joshua. Thank you. Okay, not to interrupt you. Break it down.
Yeah. No. Interrupt all day. No, like, I can totally go with the flow with that. I was literally just thinking of this. So this is so perfect.
Yes.
Where I imagined somebody asking, okay, well, there's lots of ways that I feel good, right? So there's the feeling good. Let's just put that at the top of the paper,
Okay.
And then we're going to draw a line, a T-chart. You know, back in the day, T-chart.
Yep.
I've been
T-chart, pros and cons
T-charts lately for some, pros and cons. So there's the feeling good, and then how we can feel good. So there's one side where we can feel good, where it is very quick, instant gratification side. Okay, so we can pay attention to those quick moments where we eat that ice cream. We're like, oh yeah, I feel good right now. I feel good. And you can watch yourself have like seeing that feeling dissolve pretty quickly. After you might, yeah, right. Just watch yourself, like whether it's ice cream, whether it's watching something that makes you feel instantly good. So that's the side where you can feel good instantly, like quick. Sometimes we need that just to relieve some of the pain. You know, we're all human. And there's the other side of feeling good, where you're putting energy into something, you're putting effort into something, and creating that good feeling towards the end of that effort. So my partner calls it delayed gratification, because it's the opposite of instant. So it's delayed gratification, which is the same category as fulfillment, because it lasts longer.
Yeah.
Because you're creating that feeling.
And what would be an example of something that's delayed gratification? Like even use your own.
Yeah, like working out, hands down, because that takes effort. And I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta put on the shoes. I gotta get on the bike. I got an indoor bike and pedal, right? And it's uncomfortable. I'm starting to sweat now. Oh, my legs are burning. And then at the end, do you know what I feel? I feel proud of myself. I can feel the space open up within me. I can see the thoughts coming up and being released, and I can process all these. You can literally feel the stress releasing from your body. And that feeling will carry on for hours, you know, depending on how much you were able to release in that workout. So that's a great example of delayed gratification, because it takes effort and it's uncomfortable. It's something that we're not used to doing.
And it's something you have to be consistent with. You don't just work out once like I've been doing and then wait 9 days.
Oh,
I've been so bad this freaking COVID. I'm
it's
one
okay.
of the reasons
I
know. All of winter, because I can just shed what I've put on. This pandemic pudge is like no joke. So now it's like I can put the layers and I can just hibernate, and I could work on this so that when spring comes, because I have hope we're gonna get through this. You know, it's been the hardest thing. I think. All right, then. So we're wrapping this up because we are just on a flow.
That's what I'm saying. Like when you were like asking me 30 to 40, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure it's gonna go over 30. I was like 30 to 45. Like let's just roll with the conversation.
So in wrapping this up, what kind of advice or tips you can give center focus on finding self-love, figuring out the value and the healing while we're still in this COVID pandemic and all of this rush with needing to vote? How do you make sure that you still like it's still important to do? Because I need this advice. I'm going to listen super close because I'm not even doing this.
Okay, hold on. There's some things jumping at me right now, because I know that I mentioned before about like having your safe space, you know, because that can encourage you, you know, whether it's like making sure your room being the biggest reminder that, hey, check in with yourself. Where's your self-love practice? And so that pops up to my mind. And also, how can you experience a small win? Okay, I'm not asking you to do 40 minutes. I'm not asking you to even do 15 minutes. Can you do 5 minutes? And I'm just going to speak to someone who has no clue, I was like, hey, I'm talking to you, Myki. You know, where can you squeeze in 5 minutes to journal? Can you squeeze in 5 minutes to express yourself to yourself on the video camera, since you're doing videos? Can you spend 5 minutes to lay on the yoga mat, maybe, and close your eyes and meditate for 5 minutes? You know, so it's these 5 minutes where you are allowing that space for yourself to express or release. 5 minutes.
That's a good one. And sometimes it is all you need. You're right.
And you're going to build upon that, because let's just say you were able to say yes to yourself for 5 minutes for a week. Can you imagine what that's going to do? Because it's almost like you're getting a taste of what it feels like to truly love yourself and really be proud of yourself. You're going to expand that because you're like, wow, you're like, more awareness is going to come where like, I really need to extend this for another 5 minutes. So in the early stages, how can you set up the healthiest environment for yourself? And number two, can you challenge yourself to put in 5 minutes to you every day? 5
There
minutes.
it is.
Can
There
we
it
please
is.
start somewhere?
We all
where
have
there's
our
not
homework.
Too much pressure.
It's so much pressure. It's like you said, small successes are small wins, which as we wrap this up, everybody, yes, it's Quynh For The Win, and she's one of the co-founders or co-creators with Win with Women from the femWINism, because you talk about small wins in that. And there's also menWINism too. So,
Yes.
but oh my gosh, thank you. I swear this time flew. I feel like we could go another hour. Maybe
we
we'll do
could
a
go
part
in another
two.
hour.
Why don't we do a part
Like
two? Why don't we do
we
a
could really talk
post?
about healthy boundaries. Yeah.
Let's talk about healthy boundaries and post election, because I think we're going to need that from you.
Yeah.
I just think we
I
are.
have a great visual for everybody. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, and just remember too, that whole when you're working on your self-love and you're doing your self-realization on the areas that have weakened to a point where it's been unhealthy, once you work on that and you feel that confidence and you feel that and you recognize the value, is how you're going to recognize how to see that in others. That's what they talk about, attracting the ones that are like you. Like, there's a saying I remember hearing is, you are like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So look at that 5 and really just evaluate that 5 on an unbiased manner. And if there's anything in those 5 that you don't feel you should be doing, you are the 6th. So
yes,
you can start with that self-realization, healing's value there, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's your environment.
So then, so as we're closing this out, everybody, please make sure, where did I go? Please make sure to follow Miss Quynh For The Win on Instagram. I popped it up right there. It literally is just running all small words there. Quynh For The Win.
For the win.
And for women, there's femWINism on IG, and just put menWINism on IG. And there's 2 great organizations that celebrate businesses for women, businesses for men. And it really is safe spaces to grow, to share, to heal.
Win. Yeah, to heal, to
and
win,
to win,
to grow, to win. Yeah.
And you have really made the best closeout for my Friday. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for bringing me on.
Yeah,
Allowing me to express myself, bringing up the important topics. You had so much juicy topics. So thank you. Thank you for bringing that up and creating this platform for people to share all of the golden.
So anyone wanting to wanting to be a guest, message me, Myki Angeline, the Bad Filipino, your host. Wishing you all a great rest of your Friday and weekend. And with that, we say ta-ta, aloha.
Ta-ta, farewell.